What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Photo Booth 101 podcast, Photo Booth 101 University. As always, we got the crew here, the three hosts. Today, I'm going to let Hans take over. We were talking before we started recording about setup, right? You know, you have a photo booth. We're talking about the setup, some things that we've noticed that people do and big mistakes. So, Hans, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, one of the most common mistakes that I've seen on forums or just out in the field is how far away they put their photo booth away, like from the backdrop or whatever the backdrop is. They have their photo booth 10, 15 feet away from the backdrop, and um I don't see anything any pictures coming out clear. So
Yeah, dude. So, look, with an iPad photo booth, right? Because that's what we all have, the iPad photo booth. Four to 5 feet to me is like the sweet spot. I tell everyone this. And, the reason is obviously, like you just said, the light, but there's something really, really special about squeezing into a photo. So if you have it 4 to 5 feet, if you want to get six people in there, you have to like squeeze it in and get really tight. That's part of the fun. I don't know about you guys, but like if I'm in a photo booth and I'm with like four people and I can like kind of reach out and stuff, it's not as fun. It's more like you're posing, and it's the classic photo booth experiences where you get into a little booth and you squeeze in. But look, guys, if you have anyone watching has a DSLR booth, you have a flash, then you can put the photo booth a little further back because the flash will obviously counter that. But Tyler, what about you, bro? How far do you typically? Because I know you have the LED. I don't know what those are called. The inflatables. Yeah, you have the inflatable. How far is your backdrop from?
So when I use the backdrop, the premium backdrops, I do again 4 to 5 feet. When I have my inflatable is an 8x8. So actually the guest has like an 8 foot reach because it's 8 foot wide, 8 foot long. So it's pretty long. So in the inflatable, I would say like maybe like 8 people could fit in there. And it fits everybody in the picture because everyone like gets in, but that's because there's so much room for everyone to get into the booth. But with the LED and with the premium backdrops, I have it's a 4 to 5 feet length, so it's a lot more shorter and less people could squeeze in there. But the inflatable gives it like that room for people to go in, and there's nothing really like showing in the background. Like there's nothing like, oh, my backdrop's too short or whatever, because the LED inflatable is enclosed. So
Yeah.
it depends.
So yeah, let's talk about that, man. I know Hans and I aren't a big fan of the. Well, I don't know about how Hans feels, but I know he doesn't have one. The inflatable backdrop. I personally, I think they're cool. I just don't like how bulky they are and how big they are. Like 8 feet tall to me on SoCal I think it's too big. That's why the 7.5 is perfect. The 7.5, like the backdrops behind me, because there's some old venues, you guys, with like 8 feet ceilings, and over time that 8 feet ceiling can lose an inch or two, or get a little bit lower. So I remember having an 8x8 backdrop, and I literally was like an inch too tall. Of course, we made it happen, man. I like MacGyvered it. There's always ways to do it, and the solution was some gaff tape and some zip ties. But Hans, how do you feel about that inflatable, man? I'm not trying to just crap on Tyler here, but I know Tyler has his reasonings, and I want to hear it. But I'm curious, Hans, what do you think?
I haven't tried it. I don't know how bulky it is, but just from my other business of having inflatables with my mechanical bulls that use inflatables, I know that it wouldn't be an easy transportation. That's what I'm always, because I try to take like my little Golf Volkswagen that I have. That's literally all I need. It's a hatchback, so I put down the seats. And for me, just convenience is perfect for me. So I mean, I could see the inflatable being inconvenient, but
Well,
man,
I
I
I
like.
fit inside of my Ford Fusion. I have a 2014 Ford Fusion sedan, regular size car, and it squeeze, it rolls up like literally like it rolls up like you're rolling up like a bouncy house, but obviously it's a lot smaller. It's big when it blows up, but it's very easy to roll up together because it's all fabric. It's not like rubber.
Is
So
is the material thin?
What's that?
Is the material thin on it? Like it's not like a jumper material?
Yeah, no, it's not like a jumper material where it's like thick rubber. It's
Mhm.
like it's literally like you grab it and you could feel like almost inside of it. Like that's why I tell people when they're at the event, don't bring any sharp objects near the thing. Like, don't bring your utensils, because you'd be surprised how many people come with their food plates to the photo booth. Like, hey, I'm gonna go take a picture. I'm like, put your food back at your table. This happened. This happened at the Sweet 16 that I was just at on Saturday. Someone came, they had their food on them, and I'm like, yeah, the food and drink got to go back that way, sir. Because anything could probably pop it. To be honest, it is fragile. But it's the people love it. It's I honestly I do offer my backdrops, my premium backdrops, and I've had used them before. But I give them the choice because it's the same. I offer it at the same price. I don't like have a price difference on the inflatable or the backdrop. I'm like, okay, $100 for inflatable, $100 for the backdrop. Which one do you guys want? And a lot of people, it's just a hit right now. I don't know if it's a trend and that's what people are doing, but people love it. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep using it. If people love it, then why not?
No, it's
Do they give you a reason?
Was that?
Do they give you a reason why they don't choose the backdrop over?
No, I just kind of asked them like, which one do you guys want? They said, oh, we like the inflatable, because a customer actually have a party this Saturday last minute. Believe it or not, guys, I was going on vacation this Saturday, and I made a crazy decision, but I was like, I'm gonna do it because the lady told me to throw her a number and charge her whatever. I was like, oh, you're telling this to the wrong person, but okay. So I'm supposed to be leaving for vacation this Saturday, and I had a customer call me while I was working at my 9 to 5 job, and I answered the phone, and it was a client from it was a new client from a previous event. So one of my photo booth events in June, she called me and she was like, "Oh, I'm a referral from this event. Blah 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 blah. I have an event this Saturday. I know this is last minute, but can you throw me a number? I'll pay. It's for my husband's 40th birthday." And I'm like, oh, I was thinking to myself, dang, I'm leaving Saturday at 4 o'clock. I'm like, man, okay, I haven't. Sorry, that's my dog, guys. I have insurance on my flight. Let me call and see what I could do. So I changed my flight to Sunday now, and I took the event and I changed it. I'm sorry, guys, my dog's giving me a hard time right now. So I changed it to Sunday, and Saturday. Now I'm doing this event, and they asked for the inflatable. She's like, "Oh, I want the inflatable." And the reason why she wanted the inflatable, she told me, is because she feels like her clients could go in there. They want to do a kiss or something like that. Um,
Oh, that's a
they're able to have that privacy because the LED inflatable also has those roll down doors.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to roll it down, I let them. I do Velcro it up. It is a pain to kind of roll back up. You got to roll it back up real quick or whatever, but takes like 5 seconds. But sometimes the guests are like, "Oh, I'm in here with my husband, I'm gonna roll it down." Okay, listen, as long as you don't zip it, because I usually tell them not to zip it because zipper might get stuck or something. I'm just like, "Oh, roll it down, the sheet goes down." So it's more for like a privacy thing. Like I said, like kind of like what you said, Drew, like that inflatable, that inside, old school booth moment, where you're in real tight with people. That's how I take it, but obviously in a bigger form.
interesting. Yeah, I never thought of it like that. It's so obvious, like the privacy. Is it loud, bro? Like, is the fan loud?
Well, I kind of just noticed at this Sweet 16 I was just at Saturday. I remember in a previous podcast that we were talking about, you said, the reason why you wouldn't get it is because you could see people at their events doing speeches, and then you just hearing like, this was the first time I was actually kind of paying attention to that during the Sweet 16 speech, where the girl was giving out it was a Beauty and the Beast theme. So instead of her giving out candles, she was giving out roses. So she was giving out roses to the 16 people that she, appreciated or whatever.
The Bachelor?
What's that?
Like the Bachelor of the show? Just handing out roses?
Yeah, so basically what she was doing, she was giving out these little roses to people. Oh, the reason why I'm giving this to you is because this, and then she gave it to 16 people. And I noticed during the speech, I don't know if she was not close to the microphone because she wasn't really like on the mic. She was kind of like this to the mic. I was hearing the fan like, and I'm like thinking to myself like, yo, I hope these people don't complain about the fan. I'm like, there's nothing I could do. The only thing I could do is probably unplug it and let it deflate for a few minutes, but then that would look kind of off. It looks stupid. I don't want to ruin their look when the photographer's taking pictures and stuff. Like, why is this big inflatable just in this inflated?
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
It's cool. It's not like super loud. Where like it's like annoying loud. But I was next to it and I was hearing it during the speech and I was like, I don't know how that's the thing, but they don't complain. They wanted it. They rented it. So.
Hey, that's what it's all about, man. It's not it should never be about like what you like as a business owner, what you prefer. It's what the people want. Like I'm not a fan of certain things, but we add it to our package because I know people want to get it, right? Speaking of inflatables, I was at an event this past Saturday at a school for a homecoming dance. Yo, they had 5 photo booths there for this homecoming.
You were one of the vendors?
I was one of them, and then I actually ran into, because I was like, of course for TikTok, I'm like, I got to talk about this. Like 5 booths. One of the other photo booth companies was someone from Photo Booth 101. She's not in the group chat. She bought a booth maybe before we made the chat, so she never joined. They had her in a room with her deluxe booth, and I just ran into her, and I was like, "What the heck?" Like she was like, we were both shocked, and then it was like a confetti room. So they were basically using the boomerang experience, throwing up confetti. So that was
I'm sorry. No, I was gonna ask, has a client ever asked you, now that I'm thinking about it, has a client ever asked you if, because for your rental business, have they ever asked you, oh, do you have more than one booth? We might need more than one or something like that? Or they just
yeah,
didn't know. They didn't ask you if you had more than one booth.
yeah. They've
I was surprised. I was like, why didn't they rent all 5 of them from you? That would have been more easier for them, but
I know, I know. I probably could mention it, but like there's so many other things we talk about, me being like, oh, we have a second booth just in case you need it. It's my fault. I should have known, like, a school dance. There's gonna be tons of kids and they could have used a step more booths, but I dropped the ball. So I've been in the business almost 9 years, and now I still make mistakes, but I'm okay with it because I know the other photo booth operator was someone from Photo Booth 101. But one of the booths where I forgot the name of it. It literally will take a video. So it's kind of like a boomerang, and then it prints out, it's like a flip book. That's what it's called. So it's one of those where it takes a bunch of photos and then they have to wait like 15 minutes. And then it prints a bunch of photos with the sequence. So you see, when you flip through it, you see them doing this or like whatever they're doing, and they get to keep it. And
wow.
I think
That's different.
yeah, that's a premium product because that guy, he had to make at least $1,500 to $2,000 for that.
Yeah, but that takes so long. You said it takes like 15 minutes to come out.
Yeah, because I think it has to print each little thing, and then they have to staple it too.
Wow. So that means if like 20 people used it, that last group is gonna take like an hour to get their stuff.
Yeah,
Not even
bro.
probably longer than that.
Yeah. So when we came to pick up the booth at 11, when the dance ended, they were still printing out things, and then there was like a whole table filled with it. So people forgot it, they left it, but luckily the school picked them up after, and I guess they're going to make an announcement. I even had some students text us like, hey, where's my book? And I'm like, oh, wrong company, you have to talk to what's her name at the school. But so yeah,
Yeah.
let's just kind of segue this, you guys. Let's talk about I know we're talking about, actually no, we're not done with the setup. So Hans, back to what we were saying about the backdrop, the booth being close to it. A mistake I see a lot of people do is not asking the customer about electricity, just assuming that there's going to be an outlet nearby you. And I got into an argument on someone on TikTok where the guy's like, well, it doesn't matter because I have 2 100 feet extension cords. And I'm like, bro, that is such a hazard, is to run 2 100-foot extension cords. So I don't know how you guys talk. I don't know how you guys deal with this, but for me, I always, explain when they're booking, this is what we require, 8 by 8. That's the amount of square feet we need. And then we need an extension cord no further than 20 yards from us. No, 20 feet from us. So I don't know. What do you guys do? Like, is it in your contracts, or is this just something like, again, you guys always make sure you ask ahead of time?
Yeah, I usually ask ahead of time, mostly because I could charge if I need to bring anything extra, such as a power bank or a generator, whatever you want to use. I know that I have to charge for it. So if I see like, hey, like, no, like your nearest one is gonna be like 50 feet away, I was like, you might want to opt for something else. I tell them it's either gonna be a tripping hazard or just, you just need to rent one. So
Fire hazard too, no?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're running two cords that long?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, something in the watts would definitely could cause some type of explosion or something. That's a little hazardous, like Drew said. But yeah, no, I do about 20. I have a 25-foot extension cord. So if you can't reach that, then I don't go any further than that. Like I did an event. I had 2 events Saturday, actually, a morning event with my church, and that Sweet 16 at nighttime. And the church event was outside the church, but luckily it was in the back of the church, so they had like kind of like garage doors that opened up where you were able to plug stuff in. So I was like right there. I was like, listen, I have a 25-foot extension cord. Let's try to pull it in. So it went into the inside. I plugged into one of the outlets inside. So it worked, but it took a lot of setup.
Yeah, I think every photo booth owner should own a Jackery, a little power bank.
Mhm.
Look, the one we have, I think you can buy it now at Harbor Freight for like 750, $800. I know that sounds expensive, and it is, but to have that gives us peace of mind. We bring it with us just in case. Every so often, we'll have to bust it out, and every time we have to use it, the customer's paying $50 for it, and it's like non-negotiable. So like, I think we have it in our contract. I have to double check about the power. But then again, the day before the event, I'll reach out again. I'm like, hey, just giving you the details, just to make sure that nothing has changed. And then also about power, about us being outside. And it saved us maybe already 2 to 3 times this year from the events
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you're charging $50 a time, and then after a while it becomes profit. So you're paying off your Jackery, and then after that you're you're charging. Yeah, it's
dude, that thing, I've made about $2,000 with that thing. And
another good way to make money.
bro, not even to mention how cool that thing is just to have. Like there was a couple times where we've had some power outages at our house, and I'm like, dude, like this could be a day. Who knows? So we'll use that Jackery to power up our fridge. Shoot, I'm not letting my food go to waste. So we'll use that. Another mistake, man, I see a lot of photo booth owners do, and I know you guys have seen it in the group chat. Cords not being taped down. I get so nervous when I see that.
That's such a pet peeve for me. It bothers me so much. Me and my wife are very, very cringy with that. We make sure that I have gaffer tape, and I bought a ton of it when I first started in this business. I have like probably 5 rolls, and they're not just like small rolls. They're like, I went to Guitar Center and got like, like for the bands and stuff, like thick, like stack of like 5 rolls of those things. And I don't like when the wires are like being thick. Like even when I have, luckily the cool thing about the inflatable, and I'm gonna go back to that, is that all the wires could hide under the inflatable, like literally under. So I put the table in front of the inflatable, and I hide all the wires under the inflatable, under the table. So it's easier when I have the inflatable to hide the wires. But when I have just a regular backdrop setup, I'm taping everything down. I'm like trying to hide it under the photo booth, and whatever wires could go under the photo booth for, I try my best to keep it like hidden. Obviously the wires do show a little bit, but not like, it's like not cringy. I see it, especially like, and I hope we're going to talk about this, the extra lighting, when people bring the extra lighting and then they have all those wires sticking out too. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, someone's going to get hurt. Someone's tripping.
Bro. Yeah, man. It's gaff tape. So if you're watching this, you don't know what gaff tape is. It's literally like specialized tape. Normally it's black, but they do have it in other colors. It's tape that doesn't really leave residue, but it's very, very strong. So never tape down your cords, you guys. If you're watching this with duct tape, it leaves residue. And if you're putting it on carpet, you're going to screw the carpet up, especially when there's a lot of people walking on it. And look, I know it's expensive. So what we like to do is we like to bring our red carpet and just use the red carpet to cover up the cable. And
That's
I don't know. I actually have a way we tape it. I don't know how you guys do it. So usually, like, let's just say my arm is the cable. Instead of just getting the tape and running it along, we'll do little, yeah. So we'll go across to get it flat, and then we go and we lay the tape.
Yep, that's what I do. I do it just like that. And I learned this actually from one of your YouTube videos where you were taping it like that, and then you were taping it across. I was like, oh, that's smart, because then when you're pulling because it is tape at the end of the day, when you're pulling the tape out, it doesn't like get caught and stick together with the other side of the tape, because that gaffer tape is pretty like it doesn't mess up your wires. It doesn't leave like residue. But once the gaffer tape stick together, it's so hard to peel off because it's like tape to tape. So it's strong. It's a strong hold because it holds onto the floor. So, it is a pain. So I like that thing that you tape it like sideways and then you'll tape it like that. That's how I do it.
Yeah. And I like to I think the best idea, and you guys could probably agree with me, when you have your booth, it's to run it from the booth to the back underneath the backdrop, and then allow the wall, if that makes any sense, to leave it. I've seen some people not do that, and they'll run the cable somewhere else, but it makes more sense to just run it straight. So you have your booth, your backdrop, it makes sense to run it this way. That way the backdrop's right here. You can leave all of the cable right here and then plug it, but you'll be surprised how many people will just run the cable somewhere else, and then you have to tape it. So it's like, I don't know. There's a little bit of like a puzzle, you know what I mean, to the gaff tape. But Hans, I'm gonna give you this one here. Let's talk about the lighting. You've been such a help in the group chat for Photo Booth 101. Is it a good idea to get extra lighting, Hans, for your booth?
I mean, it's always gonna be a good idea, man. The better the more the lighting, the more clear your pictures are gonna be. I
Yeah.
mean, I think like my first 1 or 2 events, I had the photo booth lighting, and that's it. And when you add the wand lights, man, it makes a world of a difference, dude. I mean, I can't even explain how big. Even when it's not like the black and white glam, I still use it just because of the difference it makes to
Yeah.
the quality of the pictures.
Yeah, I do want to say it's good. I do want to give the extra lighting, props. I just got mine in the mail last week. My extra light, I haven't used it yet because I haven't really had customers ask me for it. I usually want to probably throw it in there for weddings, sweet 16s, more elegant stuff. I don't think it'll be something I will throw in my LED inflatable because that lights up itself. But I do want to say the ring light itself, at least for the DigiBooth, is super bright. And then on top of that, the DigiBooth has the board, the post that lights up as well, so that's super bright. So most of the time I don't need it, but I do get what you're saying. It gives it that extra crisp look.
Yeah, well, you know what too though? I think your inflatable probably helps with lighting too.
Oh yeah, it's
Kind of
it all
contains
it
it,
all
right?
lights up. It's all the whole thing lights up white when the minute you plug it in, and then on top of that, I have a remote control that came with it where I could change the colors. So if they want it blue, yellow, most of the time I do it party. I do like a party thing, so it starts changing colors. It'll like flash all the colors. So kind of like the party booth where it'll flash like red, white, blue, yellow, green, orange, whatever. It'll flash all those colors really fast because that's what people like the most because it gives it that party booth kind of feel.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually be switching over for the extra lights. We've been using the LED ones for the longest, but I'm actually thinking of investing in one of those C stands. It's like a heavy duty tripod, and then have a light like a softbox going up from behind the booth just over. I think that might help a little bit better with shadows, and it's just kind of one less thing we have to worry about because you can weigh down the stand a little bit more. I'll keep you guys updated. And I think Tyler, I think you've kind of convinced me, man. I need to just stop being such a like a dinosaur and get one of those inflatables, bro. And maybe just
Honestly, you
charge
could
extra for it.
yeah, I'd say I charge extra for it. I charge $100. I could probably charge more because it's more more fun, more people fit into it and stuff like that. I could probably easily get 150 out of it. But again, I'm just trying to make it fair. I'm like, okay, $100 for this, $100 for the backdrop. They're both easy to set up. The inflatable, you literally just plug it in, it blows up. You make sure all the zippers are zipped up, obviously, so no air comes out. And you could use it for the drop off. Like, not, I wouldn't really recommend doing it for an outside event because they do have it does have those clips where you can put stakes down and like sandbags. But for a drop off, if you want to, you could bring like little heavy sandbags and put them on just in case you feel like you're gonna leave and someone's gonna move it or something like that. I could see people doing that as a drop off thing, and I don't see it being a problem. Like, I think it would work for you. You know what I mean? At least buying like 2 or 3 and just having it as
That's
it has
solid, man.
something on one of your packages. Like, hey, here's the add on. You can add the inflatable.
Yeah.
It's extra money. You
You
can
know
maybe
what?
stars like 150.
We started running ads again, and I'm telling you guys, start exploring this. It's the easiest money you'll make. I've always said the drop off was the easiest, but like, I've never really talked about it much. The pickup, having people pick up the booth from you, we are killing it. I ran an ad on Facebook Marketplace, $250 for 25 days. We're spending $10 a day, and we're getting like a booking every other day, like guaranteed, one day or 2 days. And
Yep.
literally the first booking we got, I think they're paying a total of 240, and that paid for the ad. So now everything else is just profit. And it's easier for me to say that because we have a store where people can come. But there's this guy that I mentored out in Ohio. He's like in like Cleveland or something, and he was like, "Look, man, I'm down for the pickup. Just give me the heads up." And I'm like, "All right, well, look, before I had the store, I had people come to my house. I know that's a little sketchy for some people, but for us, we have cameras and I'm pretty good at like weeding people out. But we did a method. I was like, let me try to see if this would work. But instead of having them come to my house, coming to Starbucks, a local thing, and just explaining like we run it out of our home so we can meet you here. And I did that for a few customers, and no one was complaining. Everyone understood. So I think the Digi booth would be a great booth if you guys ever explored to do that. That's what we use. I think this weekend we have three pickups, and I think we're making a total of like $900, 850 to 900. So, but we're not using LumaBooth for that. We're using Curator because LumaBooth, they can have access to other events. With Curator Live, with the other software that, like, it's pretty well known. You can literally create an email and a password for just that event.
That's just like Salsa. Salsa, you put the actually when right before you start the event on Salsa, it makes you have to enable the what's that thing to freeze the screen? I forgot what it's called right
Guided
now.
access.
Yeah, you have to. It's like they won't let you start until you guided access it. So you have no choice. And then also then you put a password in, so it just stays on that event. So they can't get out of the app, like play around with the app while it's locked, or they can't get onto the iPad because you have to enable. It's like a double security. So that would be good too for the pickup.
Yeah, yeah. And the cool thing about this too, with the pickup, is you're so flexible with this. Like, we have people coming on Wednesday. Sometimes they'll come on Thursday to pick it up Friday. And then we tell them like not to activate the booth until Saturday because it's only good for 24 hours. That's what we say. So, I'm okay if I still love dropping off booths, but if all of our events were pickups, not a problem with me, man. My mentor, and he's okay with me telling this. I asked him, he made around $86,000 this year from pickups. And I'm like, dude, I think it's the future of photo boothing.
That's a salary, man.
Yeah, man. I think it's going to get to a point too where, I mean, there are some companies, I don't know, I think we talked about this, where you could literally purchase a rental and they ship it to you. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for us, but like, I think the pickup is one of the futures, because you could charge $200 and not have to drive anywhere, not have to spend your time troubleshooting. And I don't even get that many calls, to be honest with you. I think maybe 3 weeks ago I got a call. Someone was like, "Oh, what's the password?" Because we had a password on it, and it's like, "Oh, look at the instructions." And they're like, "Oh, there's instructions." So like dumb stuff like that. So there's not much.
So you guys made instructions for them on how to use it and everything.
Oh, bro, we have a sheet. It's laminated with instructions, and then there's also a QR code to a video showing them how to set up the booth and launch the event.
Okay.
I'm honestly considering what's it called? Starting a separate company just for the pickups. And
That's smart.
just because now that we've been doing that, it's like people are like, "Oh, can you give us your rental prices?" And then it's like so much information, because there's a pickup, there's the drop off, there's the prints. So it's like a whole spew. And but yeah, I'll send you guys the video if you guys want to see it and you're just kind of curious how it would work. It's just, I'm telling you guys, it's freaking, maybe, look, if they don't get the template, because we charge for the template, if they don't get the template, we're making, I'm sorry, not making, it's about maybe 15 minutes of total work.
Now, what if they want your backdrop, or your obviously your backdrop? You would have to go and set it up, or you give them the backdrop too to set up.
The backdrop, they take it themselves, and it's like these ones behind us, but we're only charging 75 for that. But like, dude, we're charging an arm and a leg for everything. Chofu, what's up, man? Family friend here. So perfect transition, guys. We're gonna go to the sponsor of the show, Photo Booth 101. We're gonna roll this pre-recorded sponsorship here, and we'll get back to the podcast. Thank you, Photo Booth 101, for sponsoring this video. What was I supposed to say? Thank you, Photo Booth 101. And then let's go ahead and get back on track. Hans, you wanted to chat about props, right? Setup. We're talking about mistakes. You want to take it from here?
Yeah. So one of the main questions that I've been seeing a lot is people asking about props and how do they deal with people not taking their props or stealing their props or whatever the reason is. I try to get like a smaller table than my usual table for like my printer and like where I put my stuff at, because I have two different tables like for my printer and stuff. And my prop table, I try to keep it a little bit smaller just because I don't want that many props out. And the less props you have out, the easier it is to keep track of them. Because there's been a couple times, and I know they're not trying to steal them, but they'll have the glasses on, the nerdy glasses or whatever, the mustache glasses, and they just walk away with it. And I'm like, yo, like, give that back. And they're not trying to steal it, but they just forget, like, oh, they just have it in their hand, they have their drink in the other hand, they're not thinking. So the way I prevent it is just by having maybe like 6, 7 signs out for like the ones to hold up, and maybe like a couple glasses, and whatever other things you might have, but just keep it very limited, because if you offer so many props, it's harder to take to keep track of, especially when you have like 5, 6, 7 people trying to like squeeze in, and they all have props, and when they all scatter, good luck trying to keep track of all 7 people.
Yeah, I agree. I had a incident this weekend where it's more of the kids, where the kids would take the props off the table, they start wearing the glasses, then they'll walk away to the dance floor. And I don't say anything. I used to have a sign that said like, don't take the props off the table, don't bring food or drinks to the table, but I just took it off because I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to look like I'm being too pit bossy. I said I'm there most of the time anyway, so I'll just tell them. But it was like little kids, like I'm talking about like 4-year-olds just grabbing it, going off the thing. I always just thought about it like this. I take my props as like a loss. Like unless they're those PVC like sign props, then that's a different story because those are more expensive. But like the dollar store props, the 99 cents, the glasses, the hats, I see it as like a business loss. Like I hope that by the end of the event I get everything back, and majority of the time I do. But there's been times where I'll like have like 10 props, and then at the end of the event I have like 7, and I'm like, okay, like I lost 3. Like I'll go look for them for a few minutes, but if it's something that I knew wasn't even a thing, I'm like going crazy for it. I'm like, all right. And the cool thing lately, it's funny. The last 2 events I was at, which was the church event in the morning and the Sweet 16 at nighttime, I actually got props from people from those events. So the church event had this big truck. It's so cool. It's such a good business. I would recommend people to get into. Not me personally, but if you like have a truck or something, he had like a big trailer, and each side of the trailer had doors that opened, and they became like amusement park games, like pop the balloons, the game where you squirt the water into the thing and it goes up and you win a prize, the one where you slam the hammer down and you go up. They had all these. It was like a mobile, like a carnival game truck, and it was free because the church had paid for it. So right before I left from the event, I packed everything up and I saw it because the event was still running, and I had to leave to get ready for the second event. I went up to the truck and I'm like, can I try this game? Is it free? How much does it cost? Like, oh no, it's free. Come on. So I'm playing the game and I won. And I got these really cool, like I don't know if it's like foam on the inside or like plush. It's like a stop sign. It says stop, and I won another one that says do not enter. So I actually got props from that. I was like, oh, I'm gonna use this for the props. And then when I went to the Sweet 16, the DJ was throwing out like those nerd glasses, those little nerd glasses with the colors on the side, and he was just throwing them out. I want to say by the end of the event, there was like probably like hundreds of them on the floor because it was a bunch of people. Everyone left them. So I start picking them up. I'm like, I'm gonna take these. I asked the host, I said, can I take these? She's like, yeah, take them. I'm like, okay. I started picking them up off the floor. I didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna use these. Literally, like plastic nerdy glasses. I'm like, that's awesome. You could use these. So I got props this time before people taking them.
Yeah, man, that's happened so many times. I'm so glad you said that. Where they'll bring their own props, and I like. There's some times where I'm like, these are actually kind of fire, man. These are actually better than some of the props I have. I always like to ask. I'm like, hey, where do you want me to put these? And usually when I say that, they're like, sometimes they'll be like, oh, throw them away. I'll be like, oh, can I keep them? And then they'll say yes.
Yeah. And I asked, I said, can I have these? She's like, yeah, take them. She saw me picking. I was picking them off the floor. I was like, oh, I'm taking these because they were plastic. Something you could buy. I guess they bought them from the dollar store, or the DJ bought from the dollar store. The ones that you were throwing out, but they some of them have like a thing where you press the button on the sides and the fronts like start lighting up. And I'm like, these are like so cool to have. So
yeah. And then speaking on equipment and stuff, I think photo booth owners need to invest in a quality wagon or a dolly. So what do you guys think? What's your thoughts here? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go grab something. So 1 second. Go ahead.
I would say having a wagon is pretty cool. Being able to, not have to carry all your stuff around and be able to hold, have to hold your stuff by hand to the event, going through doors and stuff like that is definitely worth having a wagon for, or a dolly, I guess. But if you want everything to go at once, I think a big wagon would do. To bring everything in. Another thing I see as very reliable now, and I had to finally use it for the first time, is door stoppers. I had to use door stoppers because when I went to the Sweet 16 Saturday, it was one door to another door to another door and then to the venue door. And I'm like, I had to go through 4 different doors. And I'm like, this is gonna be a pain to drag everything in, open the door, drag everything in, open the door. So I'm like, for the first time ever, I've always had the door stoppers, but I never had to use them because most of the venues have door stoppers connected actually on their doors that they have. This venue was old, so it didn't have one. So I had to use the door stoppers.
Yeah, I think a wagon is like a really good investment because it's going to save you time, obviously, and a lot of stress. One thing I see a lot of people do is without the wagon, they're making many trips. And then when they're making these trips, they're like piling things. And it's kind of like just get a wagon, get one that folds up. There's been times where I forgot the wagon and it's just never a good thing, especially if you have to go through grass or rocks. It just makes everything easier. And then I wanted to also too, you guys talk about, I want to get your guys' opinion. What's the biggest mistake you guys think people make when it comes to like setting up, like not just the equipment? Well, I'll go first. I think the biggest thing I see people make the mistake is when they show up, the first thing they set up is the prop table. Then they go to the backdrop. You guys, this is just pro advice here. You guys can tell me what if you agree or if you think something else is different. I think the first thing, sorry, we're doing construction here. The first thing that needs to be done is the photo booth. Is set up the booth. Make sure that the booth will get powered because that's the most important thing. Sorry if that's really loud, but like the backdrop, that's going to be set up. The prop table is going to work. There's been so many times in the past where I've set up and then the booth was the last thing I set up. And then I forgot the cable for the iPad, or the outlet that they had me use doesn't work. So I don't know. What's the first thing you guys set up? And is this something you've even thought about? Like, what's your guys' take on it?
Yeah, for me, it's either the backdrop or the photo booth. Depending on what situation I have. If there's like a lot of foot traffic where like they're setting me up somewhere where like a big quinceañera where there's just a bunch of foot traffic in and out, and I'm joining in the middle of the quinceañera, like they didn't like hire me for the very beginning. It's like you're literally coming in, and there's a lot of foot traffic going on already. I try to do the backdrop just because it kind of like gives them like a area like, oh, this is my area now, like get away. Like if I set up the backdrop, they know like, oh, that's how much space he's gonna need. But if foot traffic's not an issue, like there's not a lot of people passing by, then definitely the photo booth is my go-to, just because I want to know what Drew said. If you forgot something or if there's a problem.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to my setup, I usually, if I again I've been getting asked a lot for the LED inflatable. So I would set that up first because it's bigger, and I do agree with Hans where it's like, okay, I set up, this is my spot, my bubble, like don't come near it. But like I said, if it's just like the backdrop setup, I'll set up the photo booth first because I want to line it up. So I want to line the photo booth up correctly where it needs to go. But with the LED inflatable, I have to make sure that's lined up correctly and put in the right spot before I put the photo booth inside of the LED inflatable. So it depends on which one they get for which one I set up first.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What else here? What else can we talk about, you guys? Mistakes that people do when with the setups, things that we've noticed. Maybe is there anything you guys think we forgot that could be helpful towards someone that's just starting off or considering starting off?
Yeah, so there's one other problem. I guess it's not really a setup, but more of a with dealing with kids. With your setup, I guess they mess up with your setup. I know people are like, how do you deal with kids when they're grabbing your props? How do you deal with toddlers? Sometimes they're 3 years old. They don't know any better. One of the things that I've learned throughout my career at this photo booth is telling them very nicely, because I have a kid too, so I'd be mad if someone scolded my kid, but very nicely tell the little toddler, the little kid, be like, hey, you can't be around here unless you have mom, dad, or an adult with you. That usually just solves the problem right away, because now the 4, 5, 6 year olds is like, okay, well, now I gotta leave because I don't have an adult with me. And then when the adult comes, guess what? You're not the babysitter anymore. The adult with mom, dad, aunt, uncle, don't matter. They're the ones looking after the kid. But if you don't set those standards right at the beginning, or if you don't have that in your contract, where like, hey, kids can't be using the booth by themselves, then you're just opening up yourself to be like a babysitter for all the kids at a quinceañera or at a wedding, or another birthday, you know.
Yeah, I had the situation on Saturday, man. And I just did I have it in my contract where it says that no kids are supposed to be unattended in the booth. But I'm just, I'm just too nice to actually have to go up to someone and say, hey, like go grab your kid and like, get him out of my booth without you being there. I don't like to be rude. Like I like to be I don't like to be like get out of here, So I had an incident actually Saturday where the kids were in the booth and I was trying to attend them again. I was like, oh, they're probably used it once or twice. I went through the live gallery at the end of the event. They used it like probably like almost like 50 times. Literally, they were coming and coming and coming. Like it was like every other person they were coming back, and I was like, oh man. I'm like, so there was a time where they got in there in the LED inflatable and they were taking a picture. And I guess the little brother, or I don't know who he was, but he jumped on the older kid's back, on like the 7-year-old's back, and the kid like fell back and he hit the LED inflatable, like he bounced off of it. And I'm like, I didn't want to lose my patience, but I told him, I'm like, listen, you guys are gonna have to leave the booth, come back in 20 minutes, but come back with your parents. I said, let's take a break, because right there I was like, okay, my patience was tested. And I was like, I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to come off nasty or anything. I didn't want them to go back to their parents saying that I yelled at them or anything like that. So I was calm. I said, listen, guys, we're gonna take a break. We can't wrestle in here. It's a photo booth, it could break easily. Let's come back with your parents in about 20 minutes. And they came back without the parents. So I had to tell them, hey, you got to come back with your parents because, last time you guys came here, you wrestled and we can't have you guys get hurt. But before that, they came in like 50 times, man. I went to the gallery. There's like, and I'm giving this lady a scrapbook too, for her daughter's Sweet 16. So I'm like, I'm not printing out all these pictures of these kids just like standing like that.
Wait. Here's a photo. Here's a photo. It's like this.
That's what exactly. They're literally like 3 feet tall, and they're like with like a small prop, and they're like. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not printing. I'll print like 3 or 4 good pictures of them, and then that's all they're getting. Because I'm like, this is gonna cost me so much money to probably print every picture of them, like 50 cents or 10 cents per picture. I'm like, no, you'll get 3 pictures. They went in there like it was a fun house, man. I was like, you know what? Yeah, no. My next event, I'm gonna set a boundary. The minute they come, bring your parents.
You guys are so much nicer than me. I literally turn the photo booth off. I'll turn the light off, and I'll just say like, hey, you need an adult. Because if sometimes you'll tell these kids and they're like one ear out the other, so I'll turn the booth off.
I'm gonna get my charge, guys.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't, Hans, I don't know how you. I just don't feel comfortable being alone with children, especially in today's day and age. I'm just like, I don't want no part of this, so I turn it off, and I'm like, you guys need to get your dad, your mom, someone, because that's not something. I don't know, man. I just feel uncomfortable. I'll turn the booth off. I've never had anyone complain, luckily. But like usually if a parent is allowing their kids, this is what I tell everyone. If a parent is going to be okay with their kids with being alone with a stranger where they can't see them, that parent most likely isn't going to come back when the kid goes to bug them. Like a lot of these parties, these adults, I've seen it, like the parents of these kids that are unattended, they're usually just enjoying themselves. They don't want to go to the photo booth. So they'll probably, most of the time they just tell the kids no. And from my experience, the kids don't usually come back. So I don't know, Hans, have you ever had to like, I don't know, have you ever had any blowback from that, from telling unattended kids that they can't use the booth?
No, so I had just one parent in my whole photo booth career, just asked me like, why can't my kid take a picture? Like, it's already been paid for, something like that. I just told him, look, when they signed a contract, they sign a model release, but this kid's a minor. They need an adult. Just tell them something like they need an adult. It's like an implied consent type of thing when you're with them. So that's why I'm asking for an adult. I'm not asking because I want to be rude. My kids, because I love kids. I have so much patience for kids. I'm like the favorite uncle with all my nieces and nephews. So like I love kids. But I definitely do make it a point where like if it's a kid just coming back and just messing with the booth, especially when they stop just grabbing the wand, the light, the lights, that's when I'm like, hey, cut it out. Go get your parent, go get an adult. You can't be here without an adult. I won't turn it off, but I will get in front of the photo booth so they can't take a picture.
Smart. All right, so since we're talking about unattended kids, let's talk about something that's the same: drunk adults. You guys have any issues? You guys ever run into anything where there's drunk people? And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Especially like I've said in previous podcasts, where the men, it's really the men, and it's crazy because the women are more formal. You know, they're more like, they try to be more like the protector during the party. They try to make things elegant and stuff like that. But the men, they come in with their nice suits, all nice and ready to go. They take formal pictures in the beginning, and then especially when you're at the event, you see the transition of them just like their tie, you just every picture you see their tie go more down and down and down. And then they're the ones that you gotta be careful because then they'll come up to you, they'll put their arm around you, like, man, this part your photo booth is so cool, man. Your photo booth's awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I said, go sit down. Go sit down, go take a break. You need some water.
What about you, Hans?
I haven't had any crazy stories with them. Usually I just make sure that they don't trip over anything. So no problems here. I hope that stays like that, but I doubt it. I know I'm gonna get a bad one of these days, but you know, so I don't have much input on it. I haven't.
Yeah. I've been a part of so many weddings to where like at the end of the night, the freaking groom is just gone. Like literally dragging him around and stuff. It's really interesting though. I did have one, and I'll never forget this one. Sorry if it's loud here, but one time where this guy was like, I think he asked us maybe 10 to 15 times, like, did you guys get a tip? And we're like, no, you don't have to give us a tip. And he was literally trying to give us like $300 like the whole night. And I just like felt guilty because he was just so drunk. And then at the end of the night, I was like, oh my God, dude. I was like, I'm literally just gonna take this money so he just leaves us alone. He gave us the money. Then the next day, he was like, hey, I was a little drunk and we wanted to tip you, but I think I gave you too much. And I was like, yeah, man, I tried telling you no, but like you wouldn't like stop. So he was like, do you mind just sending some of it back? And I just sent him the money back, all of it. And I was like, yeah, you gave us 300 here, here's the Zelle. And I gave it back to him. But like, dude, Tyler, I don't know. You guys, wait, Hans, are you married? I don't even know if you're married. Are you engaged or like you have someone?
Yeah, you met Ruby.
That's
You met
right.
her.
Okay, that was a long time ago. Okay. So you guys, like, can you imagine one of the biggest days of your life getting that blacked out drunk? Like, I it blows my mind. And it's
I
always
think the bride would be super mad.
what happened?
You don't think the bride would be mad? I think the bride would be super mad. It's not a,
Oh
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, they're always mad. Sorry, guys. They're always mad. But I think we're gonna wrap it up here. It's a little bit loud here. You guys want to, as always, plug your company info or anything you guys got going on that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at Best Photo Booths LA. I also own a second company, Titos Toros. You could check either one. We have different Instagrams for both of them. So give us a follow.
Yep, and mine, like always, guys, TKR_events, best photo booths in the East Coast. So click us out, man.
Love it. Yeah, guys. Sorry for the loudness here. I promise next week will be a little bit different. Unfortunately, it's out of my control. So thank you guys so much. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're watching this. Follow us, whether it's on Spotify. I believe we're on Apple Music, on YouTube. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.